With every fallen soldier, patience in Britain with the Afghan war thins. A conflict already longer than World War II, and results for a public back home hard to discern. British Prime Minister David Cameron says he expects all British combat forces to be back home within 5 years. And US President Barack Obama says he expects US forces to begin a drawdown next July. The NATO endgame draws closer. But what of Afghanistan's future?
My impression of the endgame is, sadly, all-out civil war. Now, the Afghans on all sides, they will tell you that.
There is an extreme risk of reigniting a civil war in Afghanistan. This is not just a fight between the United States and the international community versus the Taliban. This is very much a struggle between different parts of Afghan society.
In the worst case scenario, what you would find is those two groups coming up against each other and fighting probably for control of the country.
3 experts: Stewart, a British MP with a decade of close-up Afghan experience; Semple, a former aid worker turned diplomat, 20 Afghan years; and Shepherd, a soldier turned writer. All share the same fear, a civil war that predates the 9/11 attacks reigniting. Through the 1990s, the Taliban fought from their stronghold in the ethnic Pashtun south. By 2001, taking control of all but a tiny sliver of Afghanistan, controlled by the Northern Alliance. When it came to ousting the Taliban and their al-Qaeda allies, US forces teamed up with the Northern Alliance.
We, being the West, went into a situation and took one side of a civil war that's been festering for 30-odd years now. And sadly, our forces in the south and the east of the country are trying to win the hearts and minds of the people who are actually on the other side of the civil war.
Semple and Stewart think civil war can be avoided.
I think the reason to be hopeful is the Taliban are not in that strong a position, and they need to recognise that.
When you sit down and talk with some of the more sort of pragmatic and sensible Taliban about what they are, what they expect to be able to come into the political system, it's a fairly short list, and it's perhaps not even that intimidating. It almost leaves you wondering what's all the fighting about.
I saw a hint of that this summer when meeting a former top Taliban official who seemed ready for compromise.
The Americans, they have a right from Afghanistan that the territory of Afghanistan will be not used against America. They should ask for this right.
Not to be used as a base for attack on the United States.
And the Taliban and the people of Afghanistan too, they have to guarantee that.
Stewart and Shepherd remain sceptical.
They're not sitting back on their heels. They don't seem to be saying, the President said he's going to leave in a few months' time, the British say they're going to leave in 2015, we'll just sit back and do nothing. They seem to be trying to fight it every step of the way.
If I was the Taliban, I would be hell-bent on getting back to Kabul.
Political power.
Political power.
Semple thinks President Obama's message of drawdown has hardcore Taliban focusing on their own endgame.
To construct a narrative which says that if we can just keep the pressure on for one more year, we will indeed force the Americans out.
If we show the Taliban that they're not going to be able to take the country, we probably show them that the international community may be reducing its combat troops, but it's likely to have a light, long-term presence.
An endgame where at best the government makes peace and shares power with the Taliban, or at worst the country heads for bloody division. And all the while, British, US and other NATO troops are caught in the middle. Nic Robertson, CNN, London.